What was that last one again?
If you stand naked on the front porch and neighbors ignore you, you're in an urban area.
Well, I'm glad we caught that one for the next episode.
Son of a dickwag.
For this next podcast. I think this is now our 5th episode, I do believe.
4 to 5 for saying something dumb. You jerk off.
Those are some great statistics right there. That's a pretty reliable odd percentage.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So, guys, I think, this is the first podcast that we've actually had where we are able to acknowledge that we do actually have a podcast. Woo!
Ow, 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 ow.
Thank you, Apple, for finally approving us on that. There's all of our episodes are already up there. And so, guys, if you're listening to this right now, whether it be on SoundCloud or YouTube, feel free to head over to your iTunes library or go over to your podcast option icon. Using your iPhone and search our name. You should find us if you're looking under podcasts. And, subscribe. You'll get instant updates that way whenever we upload a podcast, which will hopefully still be a weekly thing for us. And obviously,
at least,
life always gets in the way, as we all know. But we're doing our best here to keep going as strong as possible.
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job. A lot of positive feedback. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
it really helps us out. Like I said, we love doing the YouTube thing, but we also really, really like this podcast.
Yeah, I think we wanted to make our pieces. I think we always really kind of wanted our pieces to be a little bit more conversational. So
yeah, well, we did start going back to history, going to the archives. We did start with a blog, and that was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible, but at least it kind of showed all right, we do want to do something like this. It's just that we both suck at writing, and writing takes a lot.
Oh, just you. Mine was awesome.
Oh yeah, sure. And so and I think this is the next evolution. The articles was Charmander, then we got Charmeleon with with our YouTube videos, which I still like to do, and there's still times where I'm like, I could totally make a really
I'm
cool
still
video
recording. I just haven't put things together yet.
Of course. That's your storyline of the last 6 months, the last year.
Oh, ho, 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 ho. I got us off the ground. You better recognize.
All right, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus?
You just said, oh, ho, ho, ho.
But you know what, too? Podcasts are a much better way for us to truly be Game Gamut.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Cover the whole gamut of the gaming industry.
The whole spectrum.
That's really what our purpose is.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think this comes to our final evolution, our Charizard evolution, which is podcasts. So I think that we've come a long way. We've been in the game for quite some time now, but I'm pretty content with where we're at right now.
Yeah, as am I. I'm pretty content with life.
Yeah. All right. So enough about our feelings. Let's get into the meat of the episode today. Earlier this week, I sent Ryan an article with the headline, "Not every developer is convinced that Let's Play videos are a good thing." And to summarize this article very quickly, I'll post a link of it in the YouTube video. There is a developer out there that made the game That Dragon Cancer, who has recently been giving content IDs to anyone who's been making Let's Plays of his game, because through some of his own analytics that he found through what website was that?
It's called GameSpy. It's in beta right now.
GameSpy, which kind of looks at how many viewers a game's...
Oh, I'm sorry, Steam Spy.
Steam Spy. Steam Spy gives the viewers the ability to see, or gives the viewer the ability to see how many people have purchased the game, how many people have watched videos about the game, and it gives you a pretty decent idea of what the ratio is, and if your game's making money, because obviously as a developer you make money by selling games. You don't make money by having people watch other people play your game.
It's kind of a unique website too. Just real quick, their charts are like on the left side, vertical axis. You have the owners, purchasers, the players, or the viewers, and then on the right side, you also have the dollar amounts to kind of look at any sort of correlation between the number of owners with the price points at what point they sold the game for. So, kind of some interesting things. That again, it is in beta, so
yeah. So back to it. The guys from That Dragon Cancer developers, they recently have been giving out content ID claims to Let's Play channels who have been LPing their game, because they looked at these analytics and they said, "Oh my God, we are losing a ton of money to people who are just watching people play this game and not actually buying the game."
Now, quick question: what is a content ID?
A content ID, now, obviously, if any of you have made a YouTube video, you know that there is content IDs and copyright strikes. A content ID really just means that someone says, hey, there's a part of your video that actually belongs to us, but we're not going to disable it or take it down or anything like that. We're just going to you're just going to give up your rights to make money on the video.
I thought it was, well, I'm probably wrong. I thought they received the revenue then. Or is that okay?
No,
gotcha.
I don't think anything is diverted. It just means if you're not making money, or if I'm not making money, you're not making money. Then the latter is a copyright strike. You know, that's the one where the video will get taken down, channel gets deleted, you know, other bad stuff can happen. So this guy hasn't been doing copyright strikes. He's only been doing content IDs, just because copyright strikes usually means like you just blatantly stole something from somebody else. So the content IDs saying like, hey, you're not in trouble, but we're not going to let you make money on this anymore. And as the developer Ryan Green goes to say, because you know there are some people saying, like, there was one person who tweeted at him saying, why does my video need to get taken down? It sucks someone else is making revenue off of my videos. To his reply was, yes, Let's Play person, I agree with you. It does suck to have someone making revenue off your work. Kind of saying, you know, the 10 people who watch your video and don't buy my game is, you know, money out of my own pocket, not money out of yours. So that's kind of his take on it. Ryan, I know you had a different view on this as to I do. Do you want me to start the argument, or do you want to take the floor?
Let's see. Well, you have done plenty of talking, and I'm sure you've bored everyone to death, so why don't I get into this? Well, you know, actually, you keep going.
Okay. So I'm going to stand in defense of Mr. Green here and say that I totally agree with him. You know, I think this is something that Let's Play channels can sometimes take too much advantage of. They get a little bit too proud of. You know, I know the vast majority of Let's Play channels out there are, you know, very small channels. You know, channels just like us. You know, we're friends with many Let's Play channels, and I think that many of them do a great job at what they do. But I think we sometimes forget about the developer, and I think, you know, these developers are just as small as us in terms of, you know, working on small budgets and, you know, hoping that what they create makes it big. And when I think when it's to see people, when a developer sees that his game is popular but only popular and being watched, and there's no monetary value for him in that, that's like the equivalent of a Let's Play creator having one of his episodes ripped off by a much bigger YouTube channel, and they make all the money on it and he doesn't see anything.
I agree. I agree with that. If this developer is seeing a ton of actually, let's pull up the stats really quick. So in this Steam Spy, and it was even referenced in the Kotaku article, which I think we should also link. So there's something called owner's data. That's how many people actually own a copy of the game, and it's roughly right around that 14,000 people own this game mark. When you click the YouTube tab, it brings up how many people have watched it it looks like kind of on a daily basis. So we're looking at one day there's 1.5 million hits, the day after that, and it keeps climbing up to there's 4 consecutive days between 1.5 and a little over 2 million views, and that's just in a 4-day time span. And that's quite a bit of revenue for those who make the game. To the who is it? Numinous Games. To their benefit, I do believe that at some point they are entitled to something if these guys are posting full-length videos that actually highlights the entire game. I know we were talking about one big YouTuber. I will not remember his name.
Jacksepticeye.
Yeah, Jacksepticeye. He has over 9 million subs. I looked at other full-length videos. There was a couple of more that had people with 4 million subs, 5 million subs, 3 million. That's a lot of subs, and that's a lot of time watching a video. And that's a lot of exposure to viewers. And I think if you're posting literally the entire game, I think that the developer is definitely worth money, or is entitled to money. If it's kind of, but at some point though, especially given all the controversy with YouTube, I don't think that they should, those who uploaded the video provided, their face and their reaction and their gameplay. I don't think that they're not entitled to anything at all either. I think there should be a kind of a mutual ground. And then at some point too, things might even get more out of hand where somebody's literally uploading like, hey guys, check out this like 5-minute quick video of something unique that happened in this game. And then bam, content ID. And some of these people make a living off of it. And I think there should be a little middle ground. I don't think that content IDs are uniquely the way to go. Just kind of slap it on it. But, I think that there could be a little bit more ground between the developer who's not making any money, and I think gamers entirely need to support smaller indie developers because they are going to carry on this industry. That's my personal belief. But I also think that those YouTubers, and I know Jacksepticeye, he did a great job. If you look at his description, he links everything, provides background, encourages people to do things, not other YouTubers out there not really so susceptible of doing so. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that it's a one-way ticket. You're either siding with the developer or you're just siding with the YouTubers. I think there's definitely middle ground to be had there.
I agree. Because obviously the article pulls 2 tweets that just come off as very ignorant of the developer. I think sometimes when people see content ID issues, they think of like the big scary game developer companies that are just out for our last dollar, so they don't quite see it when it's just a smaller developer trying to do it. But I think that's something that we need to take into account. I think that's something we need to look at when it is something that gets content ID'd by a smaller company. I wouldn't exactly take it out of greed. I would be like, okay, maybe there is something bigger here. Maybe I am taking something off his plate. Because if it's something like EA doing it, that's like, okay, these guys are just being dick wagons. I'm not stealing from anyone here. But when you have a just a small mom and pop developer company like you, and you're making money off of their game, then yeah, you could probably make that argument, because I'll totally admit that there are definitely like Let's Play episodes and people that I follow where I'll watch them play the game, and them playing it fulfills my desire to play that game at all. Guys like Digital Drew. Whenever I watch him, yeah, I watch him and I'm like, this is a good episode, but I don't think I'll ever buy the game. You know, I just don't see myself doing that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And to that point too, you know, other YouTubers that I've watched where they're playing a game, like Mr. Gamer 990, he played. Oh God, it was I think it was kind of like The Witcher or something. I can't remember what game it was.
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls. Yeah. I'll never play Dark Souls ever. I think the game looks cool. It just does not look like it's something I would play or enjoy playing, and it doesn't really match my play style of games. You know, you know me, man. I need high octane in my gaming. But you know, going back to That Dragon Cancer, it's a $15 game. I'm sure it's worth the price, but not something I would play. And if it's a story-rich game. You know, tags are looking at the tags here: atmospheric, narration, documentary, surreal, story-rich, adventure, great soundtrack, comedy. I mean, it's almost like a movie. And I did read some comments saying if you don't want people to only watch your game, then you know you should also make it enjoyable. Not saying that this game probably isn't enjoyable, but you know, there's a lot of people out there that will not want to play a point-and-clicks walking simulator. But if it's got a great storyline and it looks really cool to watch, people are going to watch it. And also, I doubt people watched the full 1 or 2 hour length videos that were uploaded. But, you know, I think that's something that developers need to keep in mind. And they can use that and kind of leverage it to themselves to say, you know what, I'm not going to slap a content ID on this guy, but I want people to know I'm glad you're watching the videos. I'm glad you enjoy the game. I wish you'd play it, but I'm willing to just work with this guy and, you know, see a half of it, or, you know, half the income, or half the, you know, negotiate something instead of hurting your own image. Because honestly, I'll never play this game. Numinous Games, can't imagine I would play a whole lot of what they like to make. I do like simulators though, but based off how it was initially handled, I can't say that I'm behind Numinous Games on this one.
I mean, I gotta say I am. I kind of always just feel for for that person, and you know, the smaller guy, the underdog here. But I will kind of agree with you that I feel like they kind of set themselves up for failure here. You know, I think that when you make games like this, you have to be worried about people just kind of profiting off of it by making videos of it, because when you say it's like an atmospheric documentary, blah blah blah, when someone makes a let's play video of it, it's almost like almost like a bootleg movie theater version of the movie, like someone who sneaks a camera into the movie theater to record the movie. You know, once someone watches that one, the bootleg version, they're like, well, shit, I don't need to go to the movies now to see that. Like, yeah, I already know what happens.
Right, and some people do buy games just for the storyline and to experience it.
Yeah.
So I see where you're coming from, and I agree. It's,
but that's me saying that they kind of did that to themselves here. That's me kind of citing. I don't know if I'm really citing. I'm citing against them. I don't know if I'm taking a side with you, but you know, I think that
won't join the dark side yet. I got you.
No, I'm in the middle ground right now, on the gray side. But that's the point I'm trying to get across, is that they maybe sort of did that to themselves. If they really wanted to make sure that their sales weren't going to tank like this, they probably should have just had a pretty strict policy on saying no let's plays, unless you strictly come into agreement with us on revenue sharing and all that, we're not authorizing any videos of our game, you know.
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, in terms of oh geez, I just had like 3 different ideas here. In terms of shit, drew a blank. Man, I do that a lot. I draw blanks a ton. But I mean, you know, looking at other similar games, I did note. Oh, I just remembered. So in that article that we referenced, the one thing I didn't like about it is it goes kind of in depth, but at the same time, it's really vague. I remember the developer mentioning that they haven't seen a single dollar from sales yet. Well, I kind of wish they wrote another paragraph on what they meant by that, or whoever was interviewing these guys said, "What do you mean by that?" Because I don't really know how you don't see a single dollar. Now, I'm assuming it's because all the costs that went into this game, it goes to that, maybe employee wages or, paying Steam or something. I don't really know. But, there's a lot of vagueness to the article itself, and I think That Dragon Cancer is a really unique game where it is heavily watched on YouTube and not heavily played. But I did find a couple of other games. And I think one thing that developers need to kind of keep in mind is YouTube, when you post videos, it's advertising the game. It's free advertisement. It's something you don't need to, pay for or put money into, especially when it's really big content providers like Jacksepticeye. What is it?
Jacksepticeye.
Jacksepticeye. I was thinking septic. I don't know.
There is septic in his name, but yes.
It's poop. It's poop. But, it's basically free word of mouth. I don't agree with posting the full video, but again, kind of take it into moderation. There were some other games too that I did find that I thought was pretty interesting. If you go on Steam Spy and you look at a game called Wick has almost half as many owners to the game, but has one day they had 3 million views on YouTube, and they had a significantly more amount of exposure on YouTube than anyone else. And I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't heard Wick reaching out. Hellbent Games, it's an indie game, adventures. It's a survival horror game, psychological. It's adventure, atmospheric, but it's not really so much a documentary.
Well, I mean, do we know if anyone's asked them, like, hey, what are your thoughts on millions of people watching the game but not buying it? I mean, it could just be that, their cries have just fallen on deaf ears right now.
It could be. I mean, a quick Google search maybe might provide a little more insight, but...
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, let's kind of talk about, we've kind of danced on the topic of, like, what do developers need to do to avoid this, to prevent this from happening.
Yeah.
And so we kind of glossed over, well, it's kind of about, copyright strikes and content ID and, making sure that, the Let's Play channels know, like, what the very clear rules are. Like, Nintendo does that. Like, Nintendo, if you play any Nintendo game and try to do a Let's Play on it, they will take it down unless you have a special agreement with them, which involves, like, revenue sharing. Like, I think, like, if a video has a Nintendo product in it, like, you get 60% of the revenue from that video, while the 40% goes to Nintendo.
Yeah,
and that's obviously very, like, elitist and very.
Well, see, everyone knows that they are really hard on copyright strikes.
They are,
but nobody complains about them because they're really fair on it. As opposed to.
I think that depends on who you talk to. The Let's Play community on Reddit has a pretty, like, it's something where they still do it because Nintendo makes really awesome games to Let's Play, but, like, I think it's something that people just come to accept. Maybe I wouldn't say maybe they're like not complaining.
Yeah, and I mean, there's got to be a better way to handle all of these, because even if you're a small YouTube content provider and you're a small video game developer, there has to be a middle ground where both of you can mutually benefit and grow, instead of having the developer put a hard stop on the content provider and having the content provider be kind of curbed from wanting to create any sort of Let's Play videos or any sort of just gaming videos, because they're afraid of not only copyright strikes but then content IDs. And I feel like I'm not 100% sure on the difference, or I guess how more often content IDs happen than copyright strikes, but just another thing for the YouTuber, the content provider, to watch out for. And a lot of people make a living or help provide for their families on YouTube, mm-hmm. or their personal lives. So, and I think there's a lot more benefit to be had if there's more collaboration, and it might even take YouTube to do something about it.
Yeah.
But we all kind of have heard what they're willing to do about things. So I think YouTube's a bad guy here.
It could be. It is just a very messy topic, because also, like, once again, when you try saying, like, I'm gonna put copyright strikes on all your content if you release stuff, it almost goes back to that reaction video bros, the Fine Bros, who basically had a very similar message. Like, if you're gonna use anything of our stuff, like,
fuck those bearded dick dragons.
But it's kind of along the same lines, though, is it not? Like, it's kind of saying, like, all right, if you create anything that is reaction related, you better be in line with us, or else it's going to get a copyright strike. And it did. People did get copyright strikes when they created reaction videos.
Well, YouTube has a really automated process, and they abuse that system because they claim to have a copyright on reaction videos, and then YouTube used their automated system to put copyright strikes down. So it took a lot of people, and those copyright strikes, from what I've heard, a lot of them have been lifted.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole thing was just, I mean, those guys are just huge ass douche canoes.
Yeah.
You know, that's taking advantage of this automated system. Content ID. I mean, I'm just kind of looking at using Content ID on YouTube, and it looks like you can set up a policy, but potentially there could be something a little bit more there, just because you're using, and I think it should only be applied to full length videos, or really big ones, or really long videos, not really so much like. Video Game Donkey does a 5-minute Hitman video. Like, no Content ID there, but
yeah, I think that's in a perfect world, but I don't know how how they can really discern that. I mean, like, because most Content IDs is either like a soundbite for audio, or it's a single frame. In they say, like, okay, if this picture matches anything out there, Content ID it, so I'm not sure if they can, put some sort of length on the video itself,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's hard, because it going back, it is an automated process. Maybe it shouldn't even be an automated process. Maybe it should be something else.
Yeah, but all right, obviously we like to talk about games, so let's talk about the game itself. And for me, I think the one thing that needs to change about a game like this, if they don't want this to happen, is you can't have a game with such low replay value that people are willing to just sit and watch someone else play it, and once that person's finished, they say, I'm done. That's good. That's all I needed.
And if you do, then you shouldn't. Then don't be offended by the repercussions of doing so.
Yeah,
this is your artwork here.
Yeah,
take pride in the fact people are enjoying it, not so much I'm not seeing money, but
yeah, exactly. Or at least be prepared in how to handle that. I don't think they did. What are they called again? Numanous games. I think that's something that they didn't take into account for either direction. I get and I understand the value in very story-rich games where you're just more of just simulating life itself rather than shooting a bad guy or flying into outer space or fighting goblins. But you need to be prepared for how the game is going to take itself and live with the actions and the consequences.
And if you're really concerned, then why don't you just upload your own goddamn Let's Play video? If you play it, you have the control to play it first and release it for everyone to watch on your channel.
That's very true.
Before it comes out. Yeah. And that way, you get all the views. Because you can be like, hey, I'm going to release this, let everybody watch the entire game, and then I'm going to see if people want to play it.
Yeah.
If not, who cares? People already watched it. Yeah. And they like what I do.
I mean, if it is story driven, there's there's plenty of ways to spice it up. There could be multiple endings. There could be different decision-making points. There's something where the viewer itself can look at a game and say, shit, that's pretty neat. I want to play that and, carve out my own little story, my own little path in the game. But when it's just kind of a very linear but very rich storyline, and it's just like, when it's done, and it's just a walking simulator, like, all right, well, that was all really cool to see and experience, but I don't need to play it to get that feeling again.
Yeah, and also you kind of just need to look at the price sensitivity of gamers, especially when you're an indie developer on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
I think $15. There's a lot more There's many different games I could buy for $15 that I would find much more a valuable investment in than a one-off playthrough. If I am interested in playing this game, which again I'm not, but if I was, $15 for me, that's almost too much money. You kind of have to look at the supply and demand of these kind of games, and looking at different ways to generate revenue off the game. And in fact, man, my idea is just mind blowing. I think people should do that more often, or developers.
They should
do that. They should make a full out Let's Play video, or highlighting the entire game, or just doing a brief, quick through. That way, if it is being played by, huge YouTube content providers, that they at least did it first, they'll be on the top search list. They'll have all the views, because nobody's going to sit there and watch this other guy play it then, because they've already watched it. And, give them maybe a week or two. Maybe let that build up. That could even not only give you money, but it could also build up some hype.
Yeah, and it would also just be a lot easier to help other people understand if they're getting a content ID or whatever, to see where it's coming from, rather than just a name on a content ID email. They'll be like, oh, I guess I kind of took what happened in this guy's video. I took the audio from that guy's video. Like, I can't be doing that. It gives you a better source of information.
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree. So, I mean, I guess to sum it up, really the two ways to do it is either A, have the developer reach out to the YouTube content provider, work something out, or B, do it first.
Yeah, or C, just make a video game that can't be...
Make a video game that has replay to it.
Yeah, that can't be, I guess, copied that easily. All right, yeah. Maybe that's not the right word, but I think that
not really.
What we said makes sense for it.
Where you can be satisfied just by watching it, because again, and I mean, this replay value goes as far back as the '90s. Game Informer always noted replay value, and for me, once I kind of realized what replay value meant, I almost looked at I looked at replay value before I looked at graphics, and then in gameplay and in audio and video and all that. Like, replay value for me is huge, because it is it means value. That's what that means.
Yeah. Well, let's save characteristics to make a good video game for a different episode. We can certainly throw replay value into that. But I think we're gonna end it here in terms of this week's episode.
Does our podcast have replay value?
Maybe. I don't know.
Asking the Big Shower thoughts.
Yeah. Leave that to the viewers if anyone actually lasted this long.
Okay, let's put in a secret code here. I will give somebody $10 on Steam if you mention the word Kotaku. No, not Kotaku. That's a bad one. If you mention the word YouTube content provider, and that's it. You have to actually put
So that way we really know that you're for real.
First person to do it, $10. Not even joking. All right. Anyway.
All right, guys. So I think that's where we're gonna wrap up the episode. As always, this is Last Rahican and
Luxboo. Happy gaming, gamers.
Happy gaming, gamers.
We should fix that.